Welcome to Highways. I'm your host, Demontae Edmonds, and I'm excited for you to be back with us today. You know, everyone is on a journey, and God has a destination for you, and we want to help you to get there. One of the most important things in the journey of life is our relationships. Relationships are so very important, and one of the most important relationships that we'll ever have is marriage. In the Bible, God instituted marriage as the first institution that he put in the earth. So it's foundational for building communities and building society. And so today we have a very special guest with us. I'm so very excited. He's been 20 years helping people with relationships, a relationship expert. And you've seen him on a number of different shows and programs, especially Lifetime's Married at First Sight. Let's welcome Dr. Calvin Roberson onto the show.
My pleasure,
Pastor
man.
Cal, how you doing today?
I'm awesome, man. Thanks for having me, Demontae. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for agreeing to come. I know our viewers are going to be blessed, and my wife and I, we've already been blessed. We've watched the show so many times, and we sit back and we just listen to some of the wisdom that you deal out in,
oh my gosh,
and helping the couples. And I believe that a lot of people that watch you that are married or are looking to get married, some great takeaways. So I want to ask you, what's the importance of marriage that we focus on it in today's society?
You know, marriage, I believe that marriage, first of all, it has not gone out of style.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think it's like the staple for a well-balanced society. When you think about society in general, and you think about the stability of our society, it starts with that relationship. Everything stems from marriage.
Definitely.
I mean, as you just mentioned a moment ago, even in the beginning of time, you know, in the book of Genesis, I mean, it was first relationship, you know, first institution that was established. Everything grows out of that. Families grow out of that. Communities grow out of it. You know, nations grow out of it.
Absolutely.
Everything in the world grows out of that relationship. So you can't really underestimate the importance of that union.
I agree. You know, I've been married over 11 years. It's been a blessing and wonderful.
With beautiful kids.
Thank you. 4 beautiful kids. Let's pray no more.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I know, man.
So one of the things that I've enjoyed about marriage is having this partnership. You know, the Bible talks about where two are agreed, they can walk together.
Well, absolutely.
The power of agreement. I believe there's a synergistic effect that you can have more joy, you can have more peace, and you can accomplish more through the power of marriage. What do you feel about that shared vision and partnership that comes from marriage?
You know, I believe that, you know, my wife and I, we have embraced that, you know, the whole idea of partnership. Let me go back to look at, you know, the biblical foundation of that, man.
Yes.
Because, you know, it's so interesting that in the beginning, I've heard it said by a lot of people that when God created man, that he noticed that man was lonely, so he created woman.
I've heard that too, yeah.
And I'm like, well, no, I don't believe that. I believe that, yeah, I do believe that God created woman. I do believe that God created man, and man was lonely. But I don't think that God had to sit back and say, oh, wait a minute, man is lonely. I need to do something else.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Because
it was predestined.
It was predestined.
He already had a plan.
Exactly, because I mean, or else God didn't know what he was doing. So God understood that woman was not an afterthought. She was intended from the beginning. So this idea of union of two becoming one flesh, and one flesh means that you're no longer an independent person, you're joined together. And that joined together, going back to your question, is what a partnership is, where you have blended completely into each other. You know, and it's funny because one of the things, and you got to stop me because you know I can go on.
No, go, please.
Well, one of the things that I often hear people talk about in marriage and relationships is, you know, I don't want to change.
Yes.
Don't change me. Accept me as I am.
Yes.
I mean, look, I get being accepted as you are. I get being accepted. However, if you're not willing to change, you're not ready to be married. I
totally agree. And that brings me to my next train of thought.
Sure.
You know, when you get a driver's license.
Absolutely.
You have to go through training. You have to take a test. If you want to have a concealed weapon, you have to, you know, go to the gun range and take a test and get a certification. But when it comes to marriage, which is so important for people's lives and destiny.
Man. Isn't that amazing?
A lot of times there's no prerequisites or training.
Isn't that amazing?
What's some things that people can do to prepare themselves to walk into that marital bliss?
Isn't that amazing how of all the things, all the things that we train for, the most important, which affects our lives the most, we often don't train for. We don't get premarital counseling. We don't learn how to be a part of a unit, how to be a part of a team, how to be a part of this beautiful thing called marriage. And I think that, for people, if someone wants to prepare for marriage, the first thing you have to understand that marriage takes an incredible amount of emotional maturity.
Yes.
There has to be emotional maturity if you're going to be married. And I think people get into marriage because they love, or they feel, they get into it because they feel good about somebody. Oh, she's fine, and you're fine. I want to marry you, Look,
that doesn't last.
Man, that is so fleeting. It's as quick as you get together, you'll lose each other because there's no substance.
Definitely.
Marriage has to, first of all, people have to understand that marriage has to be founded on love. And whenever I ask a couple what love is, they say, well, it's a feeling. I feel. When I feel good about somebody, or if I feel like I want to be around, I said, no, that's not marriage.
It's greater than that.
It's got to be greater than that, man. It's more than a feeling.
Yes.
If love is a feeling, then when I don't feel good about you anymore, I don't love you no more, right? So my college professor, Dr. Claude Thomas, I'm gonna give his name because he was a serious mentor, and he told me. He had this definition of marriage. I'll never forget, and I've said it a number of times, that marriage is an intellectual decision we make.
Wow, conscious.
A conscious decision we make to be committed to fulfilling another person's legitimate needs.
I love that definition. Legitimate needs.
Legitimate needs. That is what love is.
Yes.
Love is a conscious decision we make to fulfill another person's legitimate needs.
So, Pastor Cal, I know so many single women, especially right now, and they have this list: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want a man to change the light bulb. I want a man to change the oil. I want a man that does this and that. And it's, what are you going to do for him? There has to be a give and take in relationships. Man. And one of the words the Lord gave me when I was praying before I got married, he said one of the root causes of a lot of divorces and separations is a S word. And that word is selfishness.
Come on, yeah.
And he said when you get rid of selfishness, then you begin to really serve your mate. And when you serve your mate and put them first, you'll get back greater.
Oh, absolutely.
Some people are so trying to get their needs met.
Absolutely.
That they neglect the other person, and then they don't reap the harvest. So when you put that person first, you get back greater. That's what I feel.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. Selfish people are not ready for marriage. If you're dating and you're dating someone who does not consider you first.
Wow.
If you're dating someone who does not offer to do things for you, who is not gracious, who is not kind, who is not giving, someone who is not, putting themselves behind. I get sometimes criticized for this. I am very hard on men when it comes to marriage.
That's good. It's needed.
I'm very tough because I believe that as a husband, when you're talking about this whole selfishness thing, as a man who's married or who's getting married, the word husband literally means house band. You're the one that bands the house.
That's good.
You keep the bad stuff out, you keep the good stuff in.
Definitely.
And that you cannot be a selfish person if you're going to be the house band.
Wow.
You cannot be you first. In my house, everybody knows I'm the house band. If there's trouble, Dad, what's happening? Honey, and that's what I do. That's what I do. Somebody breaking in, they got to deal with me.
Yeah, it's some men, they tell the wife to go downstairs and see what that noise is.
No. They got to deal with me and my two friends.
Yeah.
Smith and Wesson. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No.
Your prayers, they got to deal with the babble and prayers.
Exactly.
But you're right. So, as well, everything that's been created, there's an order.
Absolutely.
Sun and moon, there's an order.
Absolutely.
Everything that's created, there's an order. And so the order is the man is the head of household.
Yes.
But some people take that as, hey, I'm supposed to control you and lord it over you and you do what I say. But that's not what it's about.
No, it's not.
It's about establishing that protection, that safety. I tell people, if you look at my wife and kids, you don't see them looking beat down or depressed because they're a reflection of me.
Absolutely.
So my job is to set that order and to make an investment that they have a smile on their face and that they're taken care of and protected. And so I think the men really need a little bit more work sometimes than the women. That's my opinion.
Well, I know that we're living in a time in our Earth's history where the traditional idea of relationships is being challenged. The idea of being head of the house.
Definitely.
We want, co-heads. I get it. I get equality. I don't think that being head of the house means that I am the dictator of the house. I believe that husband and wife are equal in value.
Absolutely.
They're different in function.
Yes.
But they're equal in value. My wife is just as valuable and just as capable as I am. But she understands my function, and I understand her function. She understands that when it comes to the final decision, we have agreed, it's my decision. Now, am I going to make that decision without consulting her? Am I going to make that decision without getting her input? Am I going to make that decision without sometimes just doing what she says because she's smarter in a lot of cases?
A lot of times.
You understand what I'm saying?
A lot of times, yes.
But then again, in every company, in every business, you got a president, you got a COO, you got a CEO. I mean, let's just be real about it.
And it works. It works for the world. It works for corporations.
Yeah.
It works for the militaries.
It works for the government. You got a president. They're not co-presidents.
Yes, you're right.
And if a couple wants to agree that, she's the head of the house, well, that's on you. That's okay. And my family don't work that way. And I think that the biblical example is the way that it should be.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Now, let's kind of flip this. What are some of the things that single people that want to get married, or maybe they're dating and they're in this courtship period that they can do? One of the things we did, or at least that I did, I looked at 3 couples that have been married for like over 25 years. One of them had been married 45 years. And I said, let me watch how the husband treats the wife. Let me watch how they deal with their children. Let me watch what they do in their daily routines.
Right.
And then we sat with one of the couples, which were our pastors. They've been married for, 100 years.
Right.
And they're going to laugh when they see that. So, but they're old. They're real old. So, but their family is serving God. Their family's in order. The house is in order. You can see joy, and it's just such a warmth there. And so I said, let's take these as models and use some of those things in our life. So what's some other things that singles can do or couples can do before they jump over the proverbial broom?
I tell people the one thing you definitely want to consider, you want to look at people's values. Values are important. If you don't have a clear understanding of a person's values, then you don't really know who that person is. Now, what are values? Values are those irreplaceable things that you live your life by. What are the things that are most important to me that I live my life by? Okay, for me, it's family.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? For me, it's family. For me, it's spirituality. For me, it's loyalty, and it's success. These are the things that I have always lived my life by. So in order for someone, if you're getting married, the first thing you need to do is figure out what are your values. Sit down and think about and write down what are the things that are most important to me, that when I look at the whole arc of my life, these are the things that have always come to the forefront. This is how I judge my life. This is how I view my life. These are the things that I govern my life by. I'm offended if this is not there. I can't be around you if you are not this.
That's good.
You understand what I'm saying?
It says parameters too.
Yes.
To kind of eliminate the wrong people. Because I think too many times people are trying to choose based on a needs base.
Absolutely.
Versus a value base.
Absolutely.
He may not have the money, she may not have the money or the job then, but if they have the right values, hard work ethic, putting God first, loving family, that stuff will come over time.
Let me tell you something, Demontae. My wife, when she married me, she had mercy on me. I ain't even lying, because look, I told her when we met, I said, baby, I'm between jobs. Now, this is not, I literally was. That's right. Yeah. I was, but I was literally between jobs. I had another job, it just hadn't started yet. It hadn't started yet, right? So and I had a few weeks, and I told her, I said, look, baby, look, right now, money tight.
Real tight. Real tight,
right? She had a promising career. She was moving towards becoming a nurse anesthetist, and I was doing my thing. I wasn't gonna be making as much money as she was. But here's the thing: she looked at me, and she saw something valuable in me.
That's good. That's good.
And this is something where I tell couples, I said, you have to learn, it's almost like, okay, let me put it this way. If I buy a gold bar, or if I buy a fine piece of jewelry, or if I buy a vintage automobile, those things appreciate in value.
That's true.
Over time. I buy it at one price. Let's like at a stock or a stocker. I buy it at one price. The longer I have it, the more people want it. The more I want it, its price will increase.
That's right.
It appreciates. Same in relationships. You have to find someone who is appreciating.
That's powerful.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's powerful.
Don't find nobody who's depreciating.
Yes.
Find someone who is appreciating. And every time I tell my wife, baby, and she tells me, baby, I appreciate you.
Wow.
I'm saying, to me, you have increased in value because of what we've gone through, because of what we've experienced in life. You are worth more to me now than you have been, than you were in the past, than you were last year, than you were 2 years ago, 5 years ago. You are appreciating. So when you say, look, I appreciate you, you're saying you're increasing in value. Find somebody who's increasing.
And that person's irreplaceable, because you mentioned, some things we've been through, hardships in life. It was hard when we went through them, but now we look back and laugh, and there's some stories. We've been overseas on missions for God, with machine guns put out on us, kidnapping attempts, with kids right with our children with us.
Wow.
And so those things kind of knit and bond you together, that person becomes irreplaceable.
You appreciate her.
Yes,
there is, and look, and when people get this, in their brain, and they understand that the things you go through in your relationship make you better, they, as you said, increase that bond. They increase your value to one another. Then the other superficial things don't matter as much.
Not at all.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless, yeah.
A buddy came to me one time and he said, you know what, I'm not attracted to my wife anymore. I was like, wow, what's going on? He said, man, we've had a few kids. She's got stretch marks. She's not the same woman. First of all, I told him, I said, have you ever looked in the mirror? You ain't the same man. But then I said, you have to understand that everything that's happened to her body should create value.
Definitely. Those kids were for you.
Those kids were for you, man. She brought those kids in this world for you. And if you can't see the value of who this woman is, and that's not her problem, that's yours.
Yes. And I used to say, find a person that's going to wash your dirty underwear.
Because
everyone's not going to wash your dirty
underwear. Everybody ain't going to wash it. No. Oh, you better.
When if you get sick or hard times or you run out of money, that person that's going to stay there with you and it's not going to devalue or talk down to you or condescend, they become invaluable.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, as well, some people, they're trying to be in a relationship, a marriage, or they're trying to move into courtship, but there are things from their past, trauma. Maybe they grew up in a household with domestic violence. Maybe they dealt with sexual abuse. And they're trying to knit with someone else, but they have to overcome some of these individual things that affect their soul, that affect their mind, will, and emotions. Can we just speak to that for a moment?
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the biggest hindrances, I believe, in a successful marriage is baggage, and knowing how to manage that baggage before you move on. Some people are not, and might sound a little rough, but some people just are not ready to get into a relationship until they have reduced their trunks into a carrying case.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's good. Yeah,
I'm coming in there with, okay, fine. Look, 1 out of 3 women are abused.
Wow.
One statistic my friend told me who studies this stuff. She's a PhD. She says 1 in every 3 women, may have experienced abuse of some kind. And I said, okay, so fine. We get that. People have abuse issues. People come into situations where they've been abused or they've been violated. They've been verbally abused by their parents, or their esteem has been shot. Before you get into a relationship, you better get into some counseling.
I agree.
You better make sure that you have reduced that baggage. It's not going to go away completely, but it has to be manageable.
Yes.
It has to be at a point where you're not
controlled by it.
Oh my God! And every emotional thing that happens in your relationship, and they will happen, all of a sudden here comes this flood of baggage.
Yes.
This flood of things that have nothing to do with your relationship because you didn't learn how to manage it and you didn't reduce that trunk into a carrying case. All of a sudden now stuff is just busting out at the seams.
You know, I tell the story. I said, you know, is this husband, he goes out to 7-Eleven, he comes home, the wife's ready to kill him. He don't know that the previous boyfriend went to 7-Eleven and disappeared for 3 months.
Exactly.
And so when he went to 7-Eleven just to get a big gulp or a hot dog,
Right.
I mean, it triggered something.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to kind of, not us, but people that are looking to get married or early on in marriage, some that are already married, maybe sit down and not put the blame on their spouse, but look at what can I improve about myself? What do I need to work on? Whether therapy, going to church, you know, praying to God, taking it to God, laying your burden before the Lord and saying, Lord, I need help.
That right there, man. That right there. And I talk to people on the show. I talk to people who are Christian. I talk to people who are Catholic. I talk to people who are atheists. And I don't care who they are, where they come from, what they believe. I tell you, look, you need to find a center somewhere. You need to find a spiritual center. I don't care. Okay, atheists, I get it. I get it. Let me just say this, since we're on a Christian show. I believe that atheists, this might be, I might get criticized. I believe that atheists don't believe in the God they've been shown.
I agree. They're looking for the reality of God versus the letter of God.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times, so they have to find some kind of spiritual, some kind of center where they can meditate, they can reach inside themselves and let God pour into them. That is the beginning of your healing from your past, man.
Wow.
Getting to a place where you're vulnerable enough. And that's why I believe in prayer. I believe in meditation because I believe that's when you're most vulnerable. You know what I'm saying?
When you're real in prayer.
When you're real in prayer and I'm not talking about public prayer, oh, thou who dwellest among the cherubim and the seraphim. You know, I ain't talking about that.
Not pretentious, yes.
No, I ain't talking about nothing. I'm talking about when you ain't nobody around and you in your secret closet and you slinging snot and you crying and you carrying on, you completely vulnerable, completely open. Some people say, well, don't take all that. Well, it depends on what you've been through.
That's true, yeah. And the Bible says, if you draw close to me, I'll draw close to you.
I'll draw close to you.
So that's part of drawing close to God is being broken, being vulnerable.
Oh, my God.
And when you're real with God, he shows up even the faster.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, man.
Yeah, he shows up even the faster.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this, Dr. Cal, as well. What are some other things that you can give people that's already married, but maybe they're in a relationship where there's a lot of turmoil and there's a lot of issues, and they say, we've been married 10 years, 15 years, seem like we can't bring repair to this marriage.
Yeah, and that's quite often the case. Most of the couples that I do talk to have been married for a good period of time. And one thing that I find is that we forget how to talk to each other. A couple things. First thing is that we forget how to communicate. You can't talk, I think we forget, and you mentioned this earlier, we forget that just because you're married, it doesn't mean that I can talk to you any kind of way I want.
True.
You know, well, we married now. No, we can keep it 100. No.
Keep it 100.
You don't want to keep it 100. Sometimes you want to make it 50.
Yeah.
You know,
Some people can't take 100.
You can't take 100.
It's gonna break. Yeah, it's gonna break.
You can't keep it. Thank you. So we forget how to talk to one another, and you have to talk with your partner as opposed to talking at your partner.
That's good. That's good. Because defensive walls are going to go up.
Oh, my Lord.
When you talk at a person, they're going to defensive.
Yeah, and once a person is defensive, they're not listening for instruction.
No.
They're listening for rebuttal.
Exactly. They already have their answer.
They have their answer.
Yeah.
If I'm on the defense, I'm not trying to hear you because you have become my enemy.
Absolutely.
And once you become my enemy, all bets are off.
All bets are off.
So the first thing is someone has to initiate that method of talking with someone. We do with a lot of couples what's called naked moments, where we have them to sit down and they actually almost have to promise to each other that whenever there's an issue, I call for a naked moment. And that naked moment says that this is a period, and this is a catchword. My wife and I still do this after all these years. So, honey, I need a naked moment. What that means is that we become completely emotionally open and vulnerable. That means I put down everything.
Now, I want to ask you this because we have just a few moments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I want to ask this as well. You have a new book coming out because I want people to get that in there.
And all that stuff is in there.
About your books.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Us, yes.
All that stuff is in there. My book is coming out this year, later summer. You'll be hearing more about it. You can go to my website, calvinroberson.com.
calvinroberson.com.
And you find out more about it. It's called Marriage Ain't for Punks.
I love that title. And it's not.
Marriage Ain't for Punks.
That's powerful.
By Hachette Publishing, Faith Words, under the Faith Words label. out of Nashville, and it's going to be an incredible book. It's 20 years of lessons and techniques and methods that I've used, my wife and I have used to pour into couples, and it's a bold, unapologetic approach to marriage. It is not the book that says, just pray and Jesus is going to work it out. That is not this book.
Okay.
Now, can you pray and Jesus work it out? Absolutely.
Yeah, but we have to use wisdom as well.
Come on.
Combine prayer.
Yes.
Practical wisdom.
Faith without works, dude, is
wisdom
what?
Wisdom is the principal thing, and all you're getting.
Get understanding. Yeah.
Thank you.
So faith without works is dead. So it's a very unapologetic look at marriage.
Thank you. Well, check that out. Marriage Not for Punks.
Marriage Ain't for Punks.
CalvinRoberson.com.
Yes.
I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, man, this was my pleasure. This was a lot of fun.
We had fun having you on.
Absolutely.
And I want to let you guys know that are watching that there was so much that was shared today. I believe we could have did 2 or 3 parts, but I hope that you were encouraged. I hope that you were empowered. There may be some people that are single or dating or married that tell them to watch the show. Tell them to watch this episode. And relationships are so foundational and important for our life and for where we want to go on the highway of life. The most important relationship that I found is the individual relationship that we can have with the Lord Jesus Christ. The Bible says that God loved us so much, he gave his only begotten son. So I want to encourage you to seek that relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And out of that, he'll send that wife, he'll send that husband, and he'll give you the wisdom that you need to find yourself on the highway to God's purpose and God's plan for your life. So I want you to be encouraged. Again, I'm your host, Demontae Edmonds, and this is Highways, where we help you get to the destination and purpose that God intended for your life.